Welcome, foolish mortal, to the Puissance Park Halloween special podcast. Halloween events are celebrated in various parks around the world, and during this mysterious evening, we will discuss how this kind of events send shivers down visitors' spine. We will mostly focus on horror nights at EUROPA-PARK in particular, and tonight I am joined by Jean-Marc.
Good evening, my puissant friends. That's kind of hard to say that in both languages.
Maxence.
Hi everyone. My English is very bad, so I'm simple, little simple, des petites phrases quoi.
Benji.
Hey everyone, nice to meet you. Yeah, and I'm gonna be the tourist of this episode because I'm not fall in love in this kind of universe, but I'm very excited to learn more and maybe at this end of this episode fall in love and buy my tickets for the Traumatica events or something else. I hope.
I hope too. And we are pleased to welcome our guest for this evening, Sebastian ROSENBAUM.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
So, Sebastian.
Thank you for doing the podcast in English and not in French, because your English is better than my French.
Oh, you know some French word?
Yes, of course.
Sebastian.
Like, speed à cochon, il peut marcher au plafond. You're welcome.
So, Sebastian, we have a tradition here in Puissance Park with every new guest. We call it the pre-show. It's a list of questions about theme parks. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
So the first one.
No.
What is your favorite theme park?
In Europe or all over the world?
You have a choice.
I have a choice. So Europe, it's Europa-Park, and in the world, it's Universal Studios in Orlando.
Do you mean the whole resort or just the studio part?
No, of course, the whole resort. Island of Adventures rocks.
Oh,
yeah. Absolutely.
That's what you wanted to hear, right? Yeah, of course.
Who wants to say the second one?
Well, I will take on this one. What's your favorite type of attraction?
Interactive attractions, immersive attractions.
You have a specific example?
I really enjoy the Spider-Man ride at Universal. It's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. I mean, the Harry Potter rides are amazing. The Hogwarts Express is one of the best out there, definitely. And the new Pirates ride at Europa-Park is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's a very good one.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the next one. At the opposite side of your favorite park, maybe you have a park that you don't like, maybe because you had a bad experience or more expectation and it was too high and the experience was really bad. Do you have one?
Yes, I once went to, what's its name? It was in Kentucky somewhere.
Is it Kentucky Kingdom?
Yeah, possible. I was like 12 or 13, and I went on the wooden roller coaster and almost ripped my ear off. That's so, yeah.
Yeah.
And so what is your ride that you don't like?
Rides I don't like? I do ride everything. There's not an exception. I'm not too scared of anything to ride, but all these spinning coasters, those are weird because I'm 186 and most of the time I'm too tall for those wagons, you know, and then it really, really annoys me.
And the final one, do you have a guilty pleasure? A ride that most of the people don't really like, but you like it?
Oh, good question. I like the haunted house at Europa-Park a lot because it has a lot of memories included. I really enjoy that ride because it's not just a ride for me. There's a lot of emotion and memories from the beginning of Horror Nights in that ride. So
of course, yeah.
Probably that one.
Right. Oh,
I honestly don't see why people consider this particular attraction to be bad because I like it too.
So there's already two of us.
Mostly people say because it looked like a nonsense ride from the beginning through the end. because every year the park found a new audio animatronic. They don't know where to put it, and they said, "Hey, maybe in Geschosslos, it's okay. Put it inside." And over the years, they had more things and more things, but we lose the sense of the storyline of this house.
Yeah,
I
at the beginning
understand.
there were a storyline about the Medici family.
Very true. Yeah, it's very true. There's a lot of storylines in that haunt, in that ride, and it kind of like feels like everything that before it goes on the trash goes in there. But I can tell you, there's some beautiful treasures hidden in that ride. Also, former Horror Nights equipment and a lot of scares and props and designs we came up with during the event. They then used for that ride. So yeah, it's all mixed up, but definitely unique.
So before talking about Halloween event, let's talk a little bit about you, Sebastian, so that our listener can get to know you a little bit better. First of all, could you introduce yourself?
My name is Sebastian ROSENBAUM. En français, c'est Sébastien Arbre de Rose. Possible. That's Rosenbaum, Roses Tree. I'm 39 years old. For the first time, 39. I grew up in southwest Germany near Freiburg. That's where I currently live as well. When I'm not on tour, I'm based at the wonderful Kaiserstuhl. That's a wine region. It's like 20 minutes away from EUROPA-PARK, 40 minutes away from Basel, like 40 minutes away from Strasbourg. France is basically 5 kilometers that way. So I can go there by bike and get croissants on Sunday. Perfect. Well, I used to play a lot of musical instruments when I was really young. And I also did my A-level in school with the saxophone. Not a lot of people know that. And then I studied a couple of times, and I have a degree in event management and tourism. Also have my judging license in that and a coaching license, which I did when I was 18 because I was bored. I financed my studies, my university, by doing magic. That's my passion and that's my profession. I do entertain people and get paid for that. So I'm approximately 200 times on stage every year, all around the world. I also work for an event agency. So when I'm not on stage, I usually make sure that people are entertained, not necessarily by myself, but by other people. And I'm currently working on the new show. I have 2 programs I play, and the third one is going to be on stage in February if everything goes right. And while I went to university, I got a call from the owners from EUROPA-PARK if I'm interested to work for them. So they knew that I do magic, they knew that I know event management, and they knew me as an actor from the Horror Nights, because the first couple of years I was invited to participate as an actor, and I always took off a couple of weeks just to do that because that was fun. Something completely else, something different. And then slowly I walked up in the hierarchy of that event, and after a couple of years I was the project lead for over 10 years. All the Horror Nights, the creative parts, I was the head of that event, and was part of the team that came up with the whole Traumatica theme and idea and immersive story world. And last year it was time for some new adventures, and I left that company to join an agency of a really good friend of mine and be more on stage again. And that's what I'm living right now. Currently on the road, mixing up appointments and working on new illusions and magic, and really enjoying life right now.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. That's my life in a nutshell.
Yeah, you just said you're enjoying life finally?
Finally, no,
No, okay.
I've done that before. But you know, all that pandemic, this weird virus that was around or is still around. We had time to think about everything and develop, and I found out that I need to go in a new direction, follow a new path, and that's where the path, Traumatica and my path split. But all good. There's still a great business connection between me and the park, and I still perform there every now and then. And I think the next time is in approximately 2 weeks. I will be on stage at EUROPA-PARK again, but not for the public, to answer the next question. So it's always galas or events, closed events most of the time. Yeah.
Okay, so you said you were climbing the ladder you started as a scare actor and you ended up being the whole event organizer. Was there a specific event that triggered that? I mean, you becoming suddenly the guy in charge?
Yeah, not sure. I guess I did a good job, I guess. Hopefully I did. With a background of having studied event management, of course, I knew how to do it theoretically. Well, at least to organize an event and to manage an event, because organization is just a really small portion of it. And with my dancing background, I came up with my own idea of how zombies have to walk and how the posture has to be, how they move. That's all before Walking Dead and all that Netfera. That idea was successful that I developed, and a lot of actors then realized that you don't really just walk. You have to think about what you do. And especially when you do it for 6, 7, or 8 hours, like we did you have to move in a way that you don't wake up with your spine broken. And how to scare people, how to entertain people, how to make them run when you want, and all that. And then, I mean, the management of that event realized that there's a dude who's passionate, who has the knowledge, who might have some talent, and then slowly let me participate more in that event. So then first year I was just an actor. That's nothing bad. That's brilliant. Next year I was head of zombies. Then I was head of the street actors. Then I was the director of the event. Then I did the assistant of the management, and then I took over the management as the project lead. And I guess quite successful.
No, that's super cool.
Yes.
I really have to mention that only works when you have a great team around you. You cannot do that alone. It's just too big.
How many people are we talking about? When you reach the top of the level of organizing the whole show, how many people were you working with?
500. There were approximately 500 people involved in that event to make it happen, and around 250 to 300 at night to make it work at night. So 300 people did what I wanted. Yeah. So from actors to management, security, fire department, first aid, everything. And then you have the attractions, you have the shows, you have artists, you have assistants everywhere, you have technicians, and everybody has to be coordinated and has to know what to do. And that's a lot of work. For me, in interviews, I always said the Horror Nights or Traumatica, or however you want to call that event, it's like a big illusion. It's a magic trick. Everything has to be done well and right to make it look real. I mean, if the guests had the impression just for 1 second or 2 seconds that what he sees is real, we did our job well. And everything has to be perfect for that. We even decided how long the shoelaces for the zombies have to be, just to that detail.
That level of detail. Okay.
Yeah. Colors, shapes, paths. We knew how timings work. We came up with scare methods. We had several different scare levels in each house, in each room, in each scene. So that was a lot of details that most of the guests miss, but they would realize that something is missing if it wouldn't be there.
Was your job also to be involved with, not only the mazes and the scare actors, but also the street performers like the flamethrowers, all these people?
Yeah, everything. Nothing happened without my knowledge. And the good thing about that is with EUROPA-PARK, you have the greatest infrastructure there. I mean, you have amazing artists during the day that you can every now and then take for your event as well, like the fire jugglers. It's amazing group from Brazil, and you know that they are reliable. You call them and you tell them, hey, you come to makeup at that time. This is your costume. This is the music. This is the timing. Do it, and they rock the stage. And so did everyone else in that event. So really proud of being part of that.
And maybe for the people who don't know what are exactly the Horror Night, I make a little reminder. The Horror Night at EUROPA-PARK is an annual Halloween event. It features a series of haunted maze, haunted house, scare zone, and live entertainment, all designed to provide visitors with a thrilling and immersive horror experience during the Halloween season. And you have to take an extra ticket because it's not exactly in the park. It's located in the backstage of the park. Special area.
There's an event area next to the park. A small section of the park is included as well,
yes.
But the event is so spooky and scary that it's not for everybody. So the recommendation was 16 or older, and I think it still is. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, it is still.
They handled it this year, but I think it's still 16 and older. Yeah.
So, Benji.
No, it's up to you. Because I'm very curious about the creation process. The main attractions in an event in Halloween is the maze, and in EUROPA-PARK we have plenty of them, and difference from a year to another. So, can you explain very shortly what is a maze for people who didn't visit yet an event like that? And can you explain the creative process for a maze? Because I'm very curious to know if it's similar like a regular ride for the park, or is it a little bit different?
It depends on what kind of maze or haunt you want to produce, but it is kind of similar to a ride because you have to come up with a storyline and you have to come up with the material, the infrastructure that is needed, not only decoration, but also actor-wise and look. And the creation process is all year round. So most of the time, the event is running right now. I have not been there this year yet, but I will be. I'm invited and I will go for sure. And I'm pretty sure that they already work on next year's event, because you don't hop from year to year. You always have to go in advance, because sometimes you change houses into something that is needed, for example, in 2 years. So there's always a short-term and a long-term plan in creating something like. Then, of course, you have to define a lot of things. For example, how scary should the attraction be? What kind of horror is going to be on display? Because there's several different kinds of horror. Psychological horror, for example, or splatter horror, or this disgusting horror when you see bugs and spiders, for example. Some people hate that. And then you have to define, because you cannot have everything in the same haunt. Well, you can, but then it's kind of like you lose the red.
Yes, so to return to my first question, a maze. So it's look like a walkthrough. You don't sit in a car or on a vehicle, and you will meet some monsters of horror inside with different kind of theming. That's right. And for that, you decide what is the path for them. So if they need to turn on the right, on the left, and where is the actor at this point of the ride? That's correct?
True, yeah.
Okay. Then
Correct. So people walk through a labyrinth.
a labyrinth. Okay, so we can have different shape of ways.
Well, we call it. Yeah, you can, and we did that. We had haunts where we were able to move walls in between the groups, so the guests go through the house in small groups. It's not like a long conga line like you have at Universal Studios. No, you have smaller groups, and there's always a small break in between the groups, and each group experiences the haunt in a different way. For example, by changing the layout of the house, by moving walls, making them walk a different path, giving them different timings in scares. An actor normally has several options in a room to scare the people. So you have to imagine there's an overall theme of the house, and then you walk through several rooms in that house, and each room normally has a story, a small story or a scene that is played. And most of the time it has a scare in it as well. And how that scare happens, when the scare happens, can change from group to group. So when you go through a house twice, you feel or experience something completely different.
But I mean, do the visitors know about this? Because otherwise they would be tempted to go through the house once and not do it again.
Well, a lot of fans know about it, and this is not a secret. So we have published that before. We have talked about that before, and we have a lot of fans that come several times a year. So let's say there's 20 shows or 25 shows. We had fans that come at 80-90% of those shows. See, there's a old,
there it is.
good-looking old school Nights jacket. There you go. And so they go through the house several times, sometimes at night. But I mean, the event has grown so big that since for the last couple of years, we always said, listen, the event is so big, we cannot promise that you can make every haunt and attraction. So choose before you go, or choose on site by reading all the waiting times, download the app, queue lines, and then of course you have upcharging methods like express passes or something that you can make sure that you can experience every house or attraction. And then if it wasn't a full night, then people walked through the house several times and realized, wow, it is different. Yeah. And it's always fun. It's always fun when they come a second time to the event with different friends, and then they tell them, and in this room, this and this will happen, and something else happens, and they get scared again. This is like the best reward.
What is the average hourly capacity of the houses?
Depends on the house. It really depends on the house. This is it's difficult to answer. I mean, there's a theoretical capacity of a house. Every group is allowed to be is allowed to have that and that size with that and that break between the groups. But then depending on how many guests are in the queue line, we changed the capacity of the house, because we said it's better for the guests to have a more intense experience inside the house than and wait for 20 minutes, for example, than having a smaller experience in the house but only wait for 10 minutes, you know. So we always said the experience is more important than anything else. So sometimes the queue lines were longer than they have to be, but the experience was better. So to answer that question is really difficult. But a couple of hundreds per hour, no problem.
Okay.
And I've visited a lot of horror events during my time. And Traumatica and Horror Nights actually is the only one that was able to combine capacity and storytelling. Because normally you just have capacity, push the people through, which is okay, absolutely. But then you lose a lot of uniqueness, sustainability, and story. Yeah. Or you go totally into storytelling and then you lose capacity. And we were able to somehow combine.
Yeah, which is sometimes a bit of a shame regarding. I've been to the Universal Studios Horror Night several times, and it's like a big factory. I mean, it's extremely well made, but some of the haunted mazes are are people eater, and others are like you wait for 2 hours sometimes.
True.
Sometimes the experience is worth it, but
yeah, I agree. I've been there before, and luckily I had a VIP tour, so we didn't have to wait in line, and we did all the mazes several times that night. But they have like 8, 9, 10 houses, and you leave one house and you already forgot what happened because they only work with so-called quick scares. They jump out of a corner, scare you, and go back in the corner and do that again in the next 3 seconds, which is a great method to scare people. But you have to have more than just quick scares to, really create memories. But that's the market
absolutely. Yeah, that's the American public that want jump scares.
100%.
If you look at the current horror films that are being released, it's mostly based on jump scare and not on tension and storytelling.
True, very true. And just remember the old horror movies that actually had no horror in it, like the Blair Witch Project. They didn't show a monster at all, but you were scared like hell because your brain worked. The science with Mel Gibson. I mean, how long did it take until you saw an alien? Forever. But the anticipation sometimes is more scary than the actual scare itself, and that's not easy to do.
Because you said it's not easy to do, how long do you work on haunted houses or mazes before it can be produced and open to the public?
Different. It's different. Sometimes a year, sometimes 2 years, sometimes 8 months. Depends on the story, how strong the story is. We had one house that we worked 3.5 years on, but because we had that idea of that house, but we needed several steps to come up with that house. So the house the year before was like teasing towards that house, So the building process itself, like the actual building the house, that's like 6-7 months. That's quite fast. Coming up with it, and because as soon as you start on the building process, you should not change anything in that house because then you won't be finished. And then all those little details, as I said, those need time. Those really need time. And sounds, we created all our own sounds. We worked with the sense, smelling things in the rooms. Brightness, how bright is a light? Why is that light there on that wall and not on that wall, for example? And that means that there needs to be a cable and there doesn't need to be a cable. So the building process is when everything is planned. That's kind of like the dot on the I. Yeah.
And when you make the design of the maze, you think about the audio system, the effect before, or it's when it's finished almost that you add it inside of?
No, we did everything at the same time. So we always had a creative process. We locked ourselves in. Most of the time, we were a team between 3 and 5 people. So for the 10 years, it was always me and Bill McCoy, the head makeup artist and creative director of Traumatica now. It was always the two of us, and then plus a couple of more people that we needed for different thinkings, because you used to always have the same kind of ideas, and then because Bill and I are totally different in thinking process, and that totally worked. So we came up with some really crazy ideas, and then when you have several other people in that group, you come up with amazing stuff. And during that creative process, I always already drew the walking path of it, including the emergency exits and the or the legal stuff, because it's quite strong in Germany. You cannot just build something. You have to be really aware of the rules, and we were and are, because I mean, safety first always. and emergency exits every now and then, and wheelchair accessibility in every or in most of the houses was important. So you had to have a minimum width of the pathways and all that. And then I always, when we came up with the room, the scene, then we came up with the scares. What is the actor going to play? What's going to support? Is there an animatronic in there as well? What's the lighting? And then we were able to calculate how bright the light has to be, what kind of sound has to be in there. So when we finished the creative process, most of the time it was just cleaning up afterwards. Maybe do some calls with some lawyers afterwards, and and do some calculations and do some math if we hit the budget. And then it was the organization of the haunts.
What's the starting point? I mean, do you sometimes just start with a story, or do you start with just a concept, or let's say, I don't know, let's do a lunatic asylum, and then you come up with a story? I suppose there is no strict rule about that.
There's no rules, absolutely no rules. Most of the time we came up with a story. So Horror Nights was different because Horror Nights was a house had this story, then a different house had that story, and then a third house had a different story again. And then the last years of Horror Nights, we came up with this story of a billionaire that secretly owned everything and was in charge of a few things and had this big mansion that was exclusive. It was kind of like an escape room house. And then after 10 years of Horror Nights, we changed into Traumatica. And Traumatica was this, or is this immersive world where everything is tied together. So we came up with this idea of the factions, the 5 different factions, everybody with own characterizations and houses, and then different stories in each house every year, but kind of like the same characters. And then last year was changed into Festival of Fear. So I was still involved in the creative process for last year's event. And we came up with the Festival of Fear that plays in the Traumatica world, but brought in new characters and ideas. And so the Festival of Fear also is immersive and tied together. So every house somehow fits to a different house, even though they look different.
How is the concept of the faction and that background story of the millionaire is being transferred to the public?
The billionaire was the Horror Nights. So the event, no matter what event you take, if it's the Horror Nights or Traumatica or the Festival of Fear now, you always have different layers of understanding. For example, if you buy a ticket, usually you inform yourself about the event you go to. You read something, you look up a couple of stories, maybe some videos, but usually one person buys the tickets and 3 friends come with them. And then those 3 friends, they don't look up anything. They don't know what's going on. So it is important that you come up with an event that can be understood without any preparation, without any information in advance. So if there is an information needed for a certain haunt, our task was to give it to them through different methods. For example, a video in the queue line, or an acting scene in front of the queue line, during the queue line, or maybe in the first room of the house. Sometimes that wasn't necessary because they just walked through, let's say, a cave or something. So yeah, I'm in the cave. I understood that. And now you have several layers. If you now understood, for example, in Traumatica, okay, Traumatica is a post-apocalyptic world. Cool, enjoy the night. Next step would be, all right, I understand that there are 5 factions that fight against each other. Cool, enjoy your night. Next would be, but who is it? Who are those 5 factions, and what do they do? And then what are the backstories of those factions? What are the leaders of those factions? Why do they behave like they behave? So we came up with whole background stories of those factions and the characters. So sometimes we even had background storage for a character that you met on the street. So someone who was not informed in advance, yeah, cool, a whatever, a pack member, werewolf biker gang. But fans, is the deeper you go into the layer of the event, understood that, all right, this dude, his name is Mad Dog, and his childhood was like la 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 la. So we gave a deeper layer for each level of fanness. So and that's the important part. And then you have hidden information in the houses, for example, the way the actors talk to you, give you information. For example, one character group tells you something and a different character group tells you the same thing, but in the point of their view. So basically you hear the same story twice, but it's totally different. And that's how you make up your own event at the end of the night.
Over the 10 years you've been designing and managing those events, is there one specific haunt that you favor, the one that you cherish the most?
That's kind of like asking what's a favorite child. We all have one. we all have one. What we don't say. No, I mean,
let's say the one you're the most proud of.
Difficult because every haunt has so much work and so much blood and so much tears and sweat in it that I really enjoyed every haunt, because it's so, the taste of the guests is so different. There is no, this house is the best of the year. That doesn't exist, because whatever you're scared of, it might be the clown house that you're the most scared of, or the zombie house, or the house with the vampires, or the werewolf. Whatever you're scared of, that might be the scariest house for you. So the same is like, what's your favorite house? I mean, when we came up with Traumatica, that was really tough, because we had to tie the houses all together. That was really difficult to make it look round, make it feel round, might be a better expression. And as I've mentioned before, it is an illusion, so everything has to fit together. And that was a lot of work. Maybe, I remember every house, really. Bill always used to say, Sebastian knows every screw in every house, and that's the truth. I knew every nail that was hit in the wall. I knew it because I was there and I planned it, and I knew how much that nail cost. So there's no answer to that. I really enjoy houses from the beginning when I was new as a project lead, because that was really challenging when I haven't done that before. Quality-wise, the last houses, of course, were the best quality-wise. But that doesn't mean that I prefer them most. It's impossible to answer.
There is two bays that I really remember. The first one was Possession. This one was very scary. It was the first time I visited Euro Night in 2011, and I really love it. And another one that I really like was.
So you have seen the second. So you have seen the second version of Possession, because we played the house 2 years in a row. You've second Possession. Oh yeah. So you still have seen me as an actor?
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe you didn't know it was me, but 2011 I was still an actor. Well, I was still acting. Let's put it that way. I was in the management already, but I was still acting during those nights. What's the second haunt?
Nightmare. I really love this idea of this monster came under.
But which one?
The first one.
Which one? Because we had it 3 times.
The first version.
That was a pretty good one. I really enjoyed that, because we came up with this whole new idea of a monster. We called him the Night Grabber. And what we did is we took real stories from the region here, and we morphed them together. Like like shape-shifting legend, and there's a fairy tale. We call it the Sandman. So when kids go to bed, the Sandman comes to the kids and sprinkles sand in your eyes so you can fall asleep. Really cute. And there's this cartoon in the children's TV in the evening before they go to bed. Really cute, because when you wake up, sometimes you have these little sand pebbles in your eyes, right? So they came up with that Sandman idea. But the original Sandman was evil. He was really, really evil. It's like if you read through the old fairy tales, you know, the Brother Grimm fairy tales, all those, they are brutal.
A lot.
Disney made them happy.
Happy, yeah.
There's no happy end. Those are brutal. So we took them, we read them, and so we morphed together a couple of fairy tales and some regional legends, and created the Nachtkrab in German, and in English it was the night grabber. And that's the origin of the Nachtkrab from the Europa-Park. You know, the crow, the evil guy. That was the Hornets was an inspiration for that one. And I say that. Not official, but I think so.
People told me about the Horror Night from 2010. They were amazed when you go in a tunnel in the dark and you were completely in the dark. Yeah, I think it was very, very scary because there is nothing but you. Imagine.
Darkness is always scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've done that darkness idea several times over the years. Always in a different way. Sometimes we used strobe effects because we found out by accident, to be honest. We found out that one of the scariest things is when you have a long hallway and it's dark and you go into the hallway and then there's a flash and at the end of the hallway you see a monster and then it's dark again, and when it flashes again after a couple of seconds, the monster is closer to you. That's
like the short film Lights Out.
Correct. Yeah, I remember that one, and that's terrifying. We found out by accident that then we used that idea to in several haunts.
But that was one of my scarier moments at the event. It was I don't remember the name of the maze with zombie in the queue line of Poseidon, and you go in the part where you're completely in the dark. And now there are turbo stop and a lot of zombie next to you.
Yeah, dead inside.
Dead inside. Yeah, it was horrible.
Dead inside. Yeah, one of the zombie haunts in the Poseidon ride. Yeah, those were cool. Yeah.
How many mazes are there at the events?
Between when I started, we had 3 mazes, I think, and a couple of attractions. So attractions is scare areas. Then you have shows. You have themed areas. You have gastro. But houses, themed haunts at the beginning was 3, and then it grew.
I think this year it's 7 now.
7 scare attractions, as far as I know, not 7 houses.
I'll take a look.
Is it 7 houses? Because it's 7 themed areas. It's not necessarily a house, but as good as a house. That's important to know. You don't necessarily have to have a building to walk through to be entertained. And the most was, I think, 7 or 8 that I was in charge of, plus shows, plus the Vampires Club. You know, we had our own club at the night, and extra VIP things, secret stuff and all that. Yeah.
There were the horror nights too. It was really nice. And I think sometime there is the Matterhorn Blitz, which is open, and Pegasus.
Yeah, that changes every now and then. Yeah, depends on the area. I think the Pegasus is open this year in Cassandra.
Yeah, with a VR.
Right of Cassandra. They do a VR there. Yeah, something we planned for 2 years, and finally it's happening. That's pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. Yeah.
I would like to ask you a question about your creativity. Do you have limits? Do you have sometimes you said, no, it's too far, too much, and we're gonna have dead people, really dead people inside? Or sky is the limit.
Well, the number 1 rule at the creative process was no blocking. So no matter what idea you throw in the room, you have to talk about it. No matter how stupid or weird or crazy or dangerous it is. And most of the times it developed in a direction where it is going to be legal and it is cool and safe. No, it is safe. Sometimes we had to cut it due to budget, of course. I mean, at the end of the night, you still want to make money, but really rarely, because most of the time we came up with methods or techniques that can make it happen. So we had people fly over the heads of guests. We had guests locked in. We kidnapped guests. That we came up with really crazy things. Sometimes you come up with something really, really cool, and that might work or not, but talking about it, then you realize, okay, you have to change it in a direction so it fits better in the whole haunt. That happened a lot. So, for example, the so-called chainsaw scare, this is the final scare in the haunt, in the last room, or after the last room, depending on your timing. That should be kind of like the highlight, you know? And sometimes we came up with that scare at the beginning of the haunt and thought, oh, wow, okay, that's going to be the finale. How do we get there? You know? And then when you create the whole haunt, you realized that chainsaw, it's not necessarily a chainsaw, we just call it chainsaw. That final scare doesn't fit in there anymore. So the whole haunt was based on this one idea, but that first idea had to go again for a better idea.
I have a question.
Do it. No.
Okay. Bye. Thank you. When I compare Traumatica and Horror Night, finally in Traumatica you have a fraction, but the choice of this common theme, it's not constrained to creativity for different maze, because finally you have a team and you are blocked inside, and sometimes you have not the idea. No, it's not in Traumatica idea. It's not too difficult to have sometimes idea and finally, no, you can't. It's not the theme.
Well, yes, sometimes, but then we make it Traumatica themed. So sometimes we had an idea and then thought about, okay, in what faction does it fit? What's the way we can make it fit? Because the overall Traumatica story, we were always able to change that or extend it, you know? It wasn't like we wrote in the Traumatica story and that's it. It always developed. There was this core idea, this core story, and then it always developed. Still, the Traumatica world is still existing. But now the Festival of Fear entered Traumatica. So you find all Traumatica ideas still in the event if you visit it. And so when we came up with an idea, we usually were able to fit that in the world of Traumatica. But then you sometimes really have to think around a lot of corners and outside of the box. And that's when you have a lot of crazy people in the room that think different, that makes it easier.
During your stay as the event manager, was there any temptation? Because the festival itself, either the Festival of Fear, as it is called now, or Traumatica or Nice, was kind of an IP by itself. Was there any temptation to go out there and purchase maybe rights to existing IPs, like, you know, famous horror films, like they do at Universal, for instance? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, there were ideas. There were ideas to do that. That's a big advantage of Universal, for example, because they only work with movie IPs or IPs overall. So when you arrive at Universal and you see the Stranger Things house, you know what's going to happen. You know the theming. That's something Universal doesn't have to do. You know, they don't have to inform you. They don't have to put you in the story world because you know Stranger Things. That's a big advantage. But at the same time, it also limits you. It limits you a lot because you do not have creative freedom anymore. You cannot do what you want in that house. You have to be within that IP. And when you work with an IP, the contracts are brutal. So whoever came up with the IP, they want to make sure that that IP is like they created it. So working with an IP has a lot of advantages, marketing-wise, story-wise, of course, but it limits you. And we most of the time said, no, we can come up with our own IP. And that's what we did with Traumatica.
That's clever, and budget-wise, I suppose it's also more clever.
Not sure, because then you have to put a lot of money in marketing and a lot of money in the creation of the event, and we spent thousands of hours in making sure that people know what Traumatica is.
Yeah, but again, you said that you had built such a big fandom that you had actually created a true lore, a true IP in itself. So, I think so. As a matter of fact, you don't need any movie IP anymore, because it's Traumatica is a universe in itself. People know about it, and they will go to EUROPA-PARK just to visit Traumatica.
Yeah, I agree. That was the goal that I had. Of course, there's always more goals, strategic-wise, and long-term goals from the owners of the park, of course. But me, as the project manager, my goal was to have a safe event, make money, have fun, and make sure that people really enjoy the evening. And result is that they know the IP now. Yeah.
I would like to push the envelope a little bit. Let's go the other way around. Now that you have created the lore, that it is so successful, that there is a huge fandom, and that we know, because we had a long interview with Mika and Mac last year, that Mac is dabbing a lot into media now. How about a Traumatica / Festival of Fear movie in the future?
There is a TV show on Vitoy about Traumatica right now. Not sure if you've seen that. Yeah, How to Become a Monster in 90 Days. I highly recommend that. So, yes. So what we did is we always, during the event, when the infrastructure is built up, we always shot videos for next year's event and use that as marketing. And also, of course, to, start when the ticket sale went on, we uploaded videos about the upcoming event. But there's a lot of social media videos created by the park, by the Traumatica team now. And on Vitoy, there's a fantastic show about how to become a monster that is playing in the Traumatica Festival Field. So you don't want to miss that. And we did Pandora's Box a couple of years ago. In the first year of Traumatica, that was a movie. That was a short movie we produced and created. And then every year, several short movies to use as a marketing tool for the upcoming event.
And what do you think about the use of media inside of the maze? Because I have the impression that the majority of the case is limited to TV screen broadcasting jerky surveillance video. And maybe video mapping, or what do you think about that?
Inside of a haunt?
Yeah, inside.
You mean in a house? Yeah. So if there is such technique and it's feasible, do it as long as it makes sense.
Yes.
When we used, I'm always talking in the past because I'm not there anymore. They still do it. When there's a TV in the house, you don't go in the room and say, oh, there's a TV. It's normally framed. It looks like a window, or it looks like a door, or whatever it is. It's just a support of the theme of the room. Sometimes used as a misdirection, sometimes just to create an atmosphere, but it's never the focus, the main attraction of that room. Never. That would be a horrible mistake to do. And then over the years, we tested a lot of different things. We had holograms, we had illusions, like magic illusions with mirrors, with glasses, with lights, with TVs, with beamers, with projections, gobos, lasers, hundreds of different things.
Something very scary that I've been had is audio animatronics. I think I'm more scared from audio animatronics than real actor.
You're more scared from an animatronic than from an actor?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and a real actor, when he's scared, a jump scare is horrible with an actor, but just after, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's a real person. But animatronics, I know when you move next to me, I really hate this.
Okay. Of course, you don't know what's going to happen. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, animatronics is kind of like the same idea as a media device. it was always there to support or misdirect. It wasn't the main scare or for sometimes, of course, depending on how many actors were sick or not in the show that night. Sometimes there was just an animatronic in that room, but the room then still worked. But most of the time, and luckily, most of the time there was an actor with the animatronic, and so the focus was on the actor, and the main scare was from the actor, and the animatronic only supported, or misdirected. Sometimes that was always fun if the animatronic misdirects. It's cool. And yeah, I mean, if you're scared of animatronics, cool. So the other three guys know what to give you on Christmas.
You just mentioned misdirection, which is a very, very, very magician moniker. So how much of your magician background did you use in the concept and design?
A lot. There was sometimes like, I remember Bill saying it, yeah, I'm a magician in the team. There's a lot of magic methods and psychological methods that is used by magicians. There's a lot of it in haunts, and especially when I was in charge of it, we used a lot of magic tricks without the people knowing that's a magic trick, but methods for magic tricks, psychological ideas, misdirection, of course, that we were able to guide your attention. Misdirection is a weird word, to be honest. It's more like guiding your attention. As I've mentioned before, we knew that if there's a light up there, your focus will be up there. So it's going to be dark over here. And so your focus is here. We can scare from here. But the question is when. And that's also something, how to scare people. To scare people, you know when. See, actually, you can summarize it. You can scare everyone. It's just a matter of timing. And that's the most difficult thing of all. Yes. Because every person has a different timing. As soon as you anticipate a scare and you're under pressure, you're most likely not going to be scared if something happens. So I'm expecting something now, it's not happening, then I relax, and then you get scared. That's exactly that fraction of a second you have to find, and you're successful. And that's something that comes from magic as well. So doing secret moves most of the time is when you don't pay attention, or you look at it, but your brain doesn't allow to see it because something happened. So you're so misdirected that you cannot realize that something happened, or it's too authentic, too logical. Sometimes it happens right under your nose, but your brain tells you, yeah, he had to do it because it makes no sense. But that basically was the method. And that's to say something happened and you're like, yeah, I mean, nothing special. But that was the preparation to put you in the position where we can scare you.
Do you remember a specific anecdote, something quirky, funny, original that happened to you over the 10 years you worked at?
To me or to a guest?
No, to you.
To me?
Even something that happened behind the scenes, for instance.
There's a lot of really funny moments backstage. Thousands of funny moments. There's a lot of really sad moments as well. We had cast members between the years, not during the show. I have to point out, not during the show. But we had, of course, people that passed away during the years. That always was really, really sad. And that's where the cast always really came together. And it's always kind of like everybody's on the sailing boat. I'm the captain, but I have a great crew. Without the crew, it won't happen. And the crew is a family. And that always kind of like felt that, you know. Anecdotes. I mean, when I used to be an actor, I was the first actor that was able to make someone shit himself. I mean, literally. That was fun. That was a lot of fun. People passing out is, I mean, it's dangerous, of course, and it's kind of like sad and a medical issue. But when they get up again and they're good, then it's fun. When you get messages afterwards that people tell you that they had the best night of their life, that's amazing. We have people that met in the cast and got married and have kids. we have a lot of Horror Nights and Traumatica babies, because a lot of couples were founded in Traumatica. Really happy about that. So those are the happy moments. Those are the happy memories. There's a lot of funny situations that happened. A lot of annoying situations. I mean, drunk people always suck.
Yeah.
Drunk people are really, it's like, well, pain in the ass. Sorry for you can beep that out. But I mean, it's part of the game. It's part of the game.
Yeah, honestly, went into a fight the first time I went to Universal Studio Horror Nights because there was a drunk guy behind me. You know, he was actually after me because I had a cool jacket. I was wearing a cool jacket and he wanted my jacket. And, you know, the security guard I had to help me. And that was unpleasant.
I bet. Yeah, I bet. Well, a lot of the training during the training process of the cast. So usually they get trained for like 2 or 3 weeks, and then pre-show and rehearsal. 50% of the rehearsal process usually is safety and how to behave in an emergency, how to evacuate a haunt, how to evacuate the event, what to do if something happens, how does it happen, how to anticipate that something might happen, and that is all trained. So the character training as well as the scare training is 50% of the overall training. Mm-hmm. Everybody has to do a fire training, for example, how to use a fire extinguisher. That's a part of the training process, and then all those safety things. We do test evacuations of the houses, for example. Just everybody knows what to do. We even came up with an own language on the radios. You know, the radios to talk to everybody. We integrated them in makeups, so there were over 100 radios on site and in the houses, so everybody was connected with each other, and we came up with an own language for that. So the radio calls were really short, only took 1 or 2 seconds, and every information was given, so we were able to react as fast as possible if something happened or if something might happen. Mm-hmm. And that's the way more important. So to know that there is a group that might be a troublemaker, so we sent someone over to keep an eye on them and then react before something happens. And we were really strong in that.
Can you give us an example, but of a word maybe you no longer use, because we don't want any of the listener, hacking your radio system in the future and send false information. But I suppose you had a specific word for fire or drunk people or that sort of situation.
Yes. I know that they still used that language last year, and I do not know if they still use it this year. I think so, because why change a winning team? And therefore, I will not say a number that means something, because I do not know if they still use it, and that wouldn't be fair, and that would make it unsafe. So it's better if I don't say anything.
From the time you started, what was the global annual budget allotted to the project when you started, and what, ballpark, of course, but and how much did it multiply in 10 years?
Well, you mean how much money we had to produce an event? Yeah. Mm-hmm. I forgot. No, I can't say that. I'm not allowed to say that. even though I'm not under contract right now, but I signed things that I'm not allowed to talk about in terms.
Yeah, non-disclosure.
Sorry. Yeah, that's it. Sorry.
And during the event, the actors are free for their acting, or you guide them to fit with the universe of the maze, for example?
No. Every actor had a certain position and a certain character with certain tasks to fulfill. So if you were in a house, you had a several area you are allowed to be in, with several options to scare from, and also what kind of scares. And that was trained. And then we also had people on the streets, so-called street actors, and they had their region, their area that they were allowed to be in, with several things, and those are more free in what they do. And it's way more difficult to scare a person, but the one in the haunts is as important, because that's where the main event for the guests happen. So you have to work on the second in that haunt. If you miss your spot, the experience is lower. If you miss a spot on the street, the next street artist might come around the corner and try their luck. So two different kind of working.
Depend on where you are.
Definitely.
And what will be your dream maze?
My dream maze?
Blood everywhere.
We had that. We had that haunt where half of it was just blood. That was amazing. Or one room, there was like gallons of blood in there. Well, difficult to answer. We always had a wish of a theme that did not happen. We weren't ready to do it. And you should go to this year's event because I know that they have it now. And,
this is unknown or last end?
The what?
This is which one, with the alien or with the when you shoot?
Exactly. Yeah. You should definitely visit the unknown. The theme is amazing. Because I've been to the park 3 weeks ago for a show. I've played a show there, and I spent a little time with Bill. I've met him there, and we've talked about the good old times and walked across the event, and I walked through the houses and all that. Without actors, of course. I mean, it was during the day. So I've seen what they came up with, and I'm really happy. I'm really happy that they used this theme now. So I was really happy to see that they finally made it. And we had that idea for like 6 or 7 years, but it wasn't time. It was not time, because then Horror Nights finished and Traumatica came up, and it didn't fit in the Traumatica the first couple of years, and we knew that it will take a couple of years until it will make sense, and it's this year when I'm not there.
I visit the Traumatica the next week, so I will see it. I can't wait.
Really nice.
Yeah,
really nice. When do you go? What day?
Friday, the 20th.
Friday. Nice. Really cool. Yeah, cool. Yeah, I mean, that's the theme I always wanted to do. We did have some Easter eggs in that theme area already during the years, but there's always a few effects or ideas in haunts that I always wanted to do, but most of them happened, and really happy about that. So, of course, there's a bunch of still ideas in my head that have not happened yet. Might happen in the future. Maybe they come up with ideas. You never know what happens. I mean,
and in your opinion, what is the future of mazes in a context where parks are always seeking innovation and aiming to create even more immersive experience? I'm thinking of innovative example like Dimension that stood out, but I'm not sure if this experience found its audience. Maybe because of the extra ticket.
The Dimension, or you mean Eden Manor?
The Manor. It was
from
the Mansion.
Horror Nights.
Yeah, from Horror Nights. When you have the different
Horror Nights, The Mansion was that billionaire idea I talked about. That was an exclusive house that was based on escape rooms. So that was not the classical haunt idea. That was an escape room, because we always wanted to do an escape room. And it was quite early. It was like when we played it 2 years, and the year after we've closed it, then that was the year when escape rooms slowly came to Germany. So maybe we were ahead of time, but it was always fully booked, always sold out. And that was really cool. But it had almost no capacity because you had to solve riddles and tasks in the rooms to get to the next room in the storyline. And every room something happened. Also in a horror themed and scare based idea, but that was pretty innovative. That is true. Also really innovative, as I've mentioned before, was creating capacity and storytelling. That is innovative. We came up with methods to do so, and really proud of that. But as you have mentioned, immersive attractions is a future, absolutely. Not only in horror-based attractions, in every kind of attraction. Immersive with the help of IPs, with the help of the creation of strong IPs or stories. Unfortunately, a lot of parks or producers try to create immersive attractions. I think they are immersive, but they aren't, because they are weak in storytelling, they are weak in interaction, and they are not immersive at all. For example, in May, I produced a really cool attraction for a German car manufacturer. Not allowed to say which one. And they came to me, hired me as the director and the creator of that experience. And they said, yeah, we have this idea of this immersive attraction. And they told me the idea. And I said, really cool, but that's not immersive. And they said, what? No, that's immersive. I said, what does immersive mean? And they told me, and I said, nope, you're wrong. Because immersive is kind of like a word that everybody throws in the room and talks about, and not many people know what it means. And Traumatica was the first step for an immersive event, definitely. And yeah, and as you've said, that's definitely the future of attractions, being immersive. And I hope that the of attractions realize that they need strong storytelling and interaction and quality in detail to be immersive. And haven't seen many, not yet. I've seen amazing things out there and a lot of beautiful and brilliant ideas, but not quite there yet. Getting there.
And we're going to have the last question. It's more about the theme parks themselves. I imagine that there must be a whole management process away from public view for this event to take place. The event is launched. What was your job during the evenings? You are backstage, on stage. How did you work?
So there's a room called production office. And it was full of monitors, of computer monitors. And I had 3 cell phones and 4 radios, a team around me, and I managed the whole evening. So I was able to control all waiting times. And I did the evening control of management of every night with the team around me. So that's most of the time I was backstage in that production office. And in case of emergency, depending on what kind of emergency happened, I had to go there. Sometimes I was able to send someone, but the guest normally did not see me on the event because I was leading it. I was in charge of making sure that everybody is safe and everybody is happy and enjoys a good night.
So will you be willing in the future to go back to EUROPA-PARK and do some more design? Once you
well, I perform in EUROPA-PARK in 16 days. So
yeah, well, as a solo artist. So.
Yeah, that's true. Well, never say never. That's one big rule in this industry. I am completely open-minded, of course. If they call me, I am more happy to help, of course, or to support. If they think I can be an add-on, but they have a really strong team right now. A lot of people that have worked with me, a couple of my former students now do the events. The event, Bill is still in there, a brilliant genius. So they are really doing well. The park is growing. They have a great infrastructure of really clever thinking people. So never say never. We'll see what the future will show. But right now, I'm enjoying the magic life.
Perfect. Well, cool. Thank you so much, Sebastian.
Hey, thanks for having me.